Hello, welcome. I'm Undrai Fizer. Welcome to today's Discovery with Undrai Fizer. Yeah, it was a television show of mine that I had a few years ago on KDN TV. It was called Today's Discovery, and also those of you who follow me, we had a blog talk radio that went on for a while called Today's Discovery with Dr. Undrai Fizer. So I decided to bring it out in a new situation on this evening. Usually on Tuesdays, I'm speaking to a core group in a destiny school called Charting the Course. But I believe it's time to open up information to those of you who are seekers, who follow our work. You know who you are. Those of you who have the app, and you can see it on the ticker there. You could get our Fizer Interglobal app in the App Store or Google stores. And it's a daily assortment of insight and podcasts and videos, meat for the journey. And the reason you decided to make the journey determines the power behind your usage of the tools in anything. The reason you sought the Lord determines what you are doing now to maintain that relationship or that insight. If you pursued purpose because you were in love with God, for that very reason, you will use the insight daily. And so one thing I can't do is determine why you decided to do whatever it is you're doing, but there is information available. So I want to welcome you for joining me tonight. Thanks for those who have followed my teachings, those who studied under me, those who studied with me, those who were certified by Kairos, those who benefited, even those who didn't agree with a lot, because everyone won't agree with you, just like everyone did not agree with Jesus. And it's funny that we can talk about Jesus as the perfect example now, but you didn't have to live with him. You didn't have to hear him. You didn't have to be mentored by him. So it's funny how we can totally agree with a superpower that we live in total distance from. And many people in the life of Jesus and during his time, they didn't agree with a lot of his teachings either. They thought he was a madman. They thought he was crazy. Even the scriptures called him a devil. Some of them called him a devil or a wild man. So I'm not on here to try to prove or establish a comfortability between you hearing me or not. I'm just giving you the obvious that in life, disagreements are relevant, will be there. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but for those who have followed my work and have appreciated it to a degree, I welcome you to the broadcast tonight. And hopefully we can add even more meat to the journey and even more comprehension and curiosity to the journey. Also, if some of you are emerging leaders or seekers of faith, or you're in a unique situation, why don't you set up an appointment with me or my wife at the Fizer Interglobal? Our offices are at 7676 Hillmont Street, Suite 34411, third floor Work Styles Suite. And you could contact us for discussion, consultation. If you're an emerging leader in ministry, business, or whatever form of platform you are living and need consultation, coaching, strategy, because we're in the reality of mentoring and helping to guide you, not telling you what to think, but guiding you along the way. So feel free to contact us for an appointment, okay? It's for the reason you start the journey that will determine how you use our information, because it's not for the faint of heart. If you don't know why you're starting your walk, you're going to get overwhelmed with a lot of things that we say. And it may hurt you, it may offend you. You may get too full of it, or you may need to take a break from it. But when you know why you're in school, you will use it. You know, I failed a lot. I'm a doctor now, but I failed a lot in high school because I lost the purpose of education. I was there to, do whatever. I wasn't in there for the purpose of what it was meant. And so I didn't maximize it at the time. And when you find out that you're failing, then all of a sudden you're scared and you're blaming everybody but yourself because you've lost the reason why you did a thing. You follow me? So look, let's get on with the broadcast. Thanks for joining. I wrote a lot of things on my app today and on Facebook. And one of the main questions that I wrote was, have I discovered my purpose? Have I discovered, repeat after me, have I discovered my purpose? Have I discovered my purpose? And what is that? I've been talking about that for so many years. Oh boy, it's like, will I ever stop talking about that? Because there's going to always be people trying to find fulfillment or find what to do, what God tell me what to do. And like I said earlier, your reason for walking with Christ or walking in this life will determine how and what you understand. If you came to this knowledge of Christ to escape hell or torment or sin, those will be your motivating factors of education. You will have to learn everything through the devil or through sin. Your reason for a thing determines how you understand a thing. Write that down. Your reason for a thing determines how you understand the thing. Because you didn't come into this to know how to walk a purpose. If you came to this life to escape something, it won't leave you any room to understand anything else because you're seeking to understand something that's against the reason you bought it. Did I make sense? You're seeking to understand something that goes against the reason you purchased it. That's like buying a Toyota Tundra, but you want to ski with it. It wasn't made for the slopes to ski. It's like I bought a truck, now I want to learn how to ski with it. Well, it wasn't purchased, it wasn't designed to be used as skis on a slope. Am I making sense? So when you say, I want to know my purpose, I want to know, well, ask yourself, why did you come to the life? So I'm trying to bring some clarity to ease some of the tension and the torment that comes with illusionary living and false expectation and missing out and growing bored too easily. Because you need to look at why you joined this life. Why did you arrive to this conclusion? What is my purpose? Have I discovered my purpose? And so my thing to you is, what are you yielding your life to most? Because whatever I yield my life to determines my attention. Whatever it is that I do naturally, whatever I'm yielding naturally to because I feel I need it to survive, whatever it is that provokes my need of survival determines how I yield myself to it. Have I discovered my purpose? I will ask you this: who are you living life as? Have I discovered my purpose? And who am I doing life as? I'm living and doing life as what? Someone saved? Or am I living life as someone that is one with God? Am I making sense to you? Let me give you a story, and I won't be on here long. A lot of you remember Kobe Bryant, right? By a show of hands. Kobe Bryant studied Michael Jordan all of his life. Michael Jordan, if you want to look at Michael Jordan, let me just break it down. Michael Jordan, if you want to put it in a kingdom ideology, Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant's spiritual father. He studied Michael Jordan. When they were on the court competing, he would ask Michael, how do you do that move? How do you do that post up? He would call Michael Jordan to figure out, how do you make this move? He would study his moves. And when you would look at the videos, every move that Jordan made, Kobe Bryant imitated the same move. He studied him. He studied not only his moves on the court, but he studied Jordan's mentality, his resilience, and his desire to be the best player annoyed his teammates. It annoyed them because he seemed arrogant and selfish. And because he wanted to win, he put that expectation on his players who probably didn't have the same talent or the same ability, but he wanted to raise each one to a maximum reality of their ability. He exhibited that Michael Jordan mentality. We call it the Mamba mentality. He was resilient. He was Kobe, but he was a warrior. And he embodied it to the point that when he had a career-threatening Achilles injury, instead of them taking him off the court, some of you sports buffs would know, remember, he walked to the free throw line with ruptured Achilles and shot his free throws and walked off the court. He embodied the Jordan power to the point it resonated and permeated through his habits. Michael Jordan won 6 NBA champions. Kobe Bryant won 5. The Mamba. How many of you, when we get to purpose, how many of you have studied Christ and the particular intrinsic of his thoughts and his mind, where you begin to ask him, how do you do that move? How did Kobe thought he was Michael Jordan, to the point when Kobe Bryant was killed and Michael Jordan went to his memorial, Michael Jordan cried and he said he was my little brother. You didn't see Mike talk about anyone else the way he spoke about Kobe Bryant, because Kobe was closest to his competitive spirit. How many of you have come close to the divine mind's competitive compassion and identity and power, where you are studying his moves daily and you begin to ask the divine, how did you do that? Instead of thinking, how did you get saved and how can I not go to hell? You're asking him how to master the court. Who are you living life as? If you want to discover your purpose, look and see who you are living your life as. Have you, even those of you who are saved, and you might say you probably don't know what I'm knowing, or you're just with the Lord. Well, regardless, have you studied the mind of Christ? Have you studied Christ not to see how to miss hell, but do you study the language and the resilience and the mindset and the heart and the vision? Kobe was not tired in studying Michael Jordan. He would call Michael Jordan at 2 and 3 in the morning and say, how did you do? And he would watch film. How many of you watch film in your mind? How many of you have grown tired under the pressure of observation and study? Bridget, am I making sense? How many of you have grown tired and overwhelmed under the pressure of God getting you and putting you in his purpose in order for you to see what a life of first feels like? Because when you want to know a purpose, God will get you and put you in his life and let you see what it's like to live his life. And in living a life of purpose, before you even discover your own, All of those moments when you would want to leave and breathe and take a break and get a breather and not yield, that's when you would discover the reason you haven't discovered your purpose. Jesus had a unique way of teaching his disciples. He found people who didn't know a purpose and showed them how to live a Christ life before they even wanted it. And the struggles they had in yielding in a life he was teaching them also revealed to them their inability to discover their own. We can't discover what we're afraid to yield to. Write that down. It would be impossible to discover anything for yourself that you are afraid to yield to. See, it's easy to be a good church member, but when you want to discover a life, Jesus will empower you to live the life he lives, and you either yield to it or use it at your whim. You understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense? And when you live a purpose that you didn't ask for yourself, your need for taking a break from it, your inability to keep up with its consistency will reveal to you the reason you haven't discovered a greater life yet. I can't discover what I'm afraid to yield to. I will never attract what I want to control. I will never attract what I will enslave. And if you want to control that divine life, it won't come to you, because divine life will never let you control it to enslave it. Am I making sense? It will never let you and I enslave it. That's why I don't know it. I can't understand what I can't yield to. It won't let me understand what I can't yield to. It won't let me understand what I'm afraid to yield to. Have I discovered my purpose? And what am I doing life as? Who am I doing life as? From which essence have I embodied myself in all things? Kobe Bryant embodied Michael Jordan. He had to move. He put the sweatband on his arm like Michael Jordan. He did everything like Michael Jordan, because Michael was the goal of the ultimate competitor. Is Jesus the goal of the ultimate identity? When you say, I want to find my greatness, are you wanting to imitate God, or are you want to be something spectacular for the people in your family who didn't believe in you? Are you trying to get this life to prove to them, or do you want this life because you want to please your Father? What's your reason for shopping for the life? What's your reason for pursuing the treasure? Because your reason will determine your understanding. It'll determine how well you do it. Has the wisdom of my identity, has it permeated to the decisions of my life? When I know who I am, not know it in rhetoric, but when I know it in me, and it begin to permeate through how I decide and how I feel, and the emotions that exude in me, which provoke me to decide. My wisdom affects my emotions, which affects my intelligence, which affects my decision making. Has this power affected your emotions, which affects your intelligence? By a show of hands. Has it? Has it? Has it? Are my living conditions affected by my identity? Are my living conditions, not my morals? Because if we're stuck, see, if you only looked for God because of sin, you would never look for the brilliance of God or the intelligence of God when it comes to living or business or money or stewardship. Because if you only looked for God because of sin, that's the only thing you're going to connect to God, is how well I'm doing. I didn't cuss. I could have drank tonight, but I didn't. I could have got high, but I didn't. If you only came to God for moral acceptance, and moral reasoning, me talking about identity and stewardship and purpose would be beyond you, because you didn't come to God for that. You came to God to miss hell, and you want God to know that you're human, but you're trying, and I don't get everything right, so don't condemn me to hell. And God is not thinking about hell. God is thinking about beautiful governing. You're the one thinking about hell. But if you only found God for hell, you're going to need to hear about hell all the time. How many of you came to God for the brilliance of a divine mind? Not many. How many of you came to God because he was your father? Or do you want God to know that you're his kid to keep you from hell? Not many. How many of you came to God to govern your world with wisdom? Not many. How many of you came to God because I'm his son? Or how many of you came to God because of hell, and you've broke through that orphan spirit and you really see the truth? You started off thinking hell, now you're thinking government, by a show of hands. Oh, because if you've broken away from that orphan spirit and now you see the divine life, you are maturing in the knowing. It started off as make-believe, now it's real. Oh, this walk started off as make-believe, but now it's real. And now you're studying Christ the way Kobe Bryant studied Michael Jordan. When you look at me, you see him. I did this just like Jesus. I'm an imitator of God. How many of you right now are imitators of God? I watched him when he made that move. I watched him when he forgave. And not only are you imitating the goodness of God, you're imitating the brilliance of God. How many of you are imitating the brilliance of God? How many of you can say, are my living conditions affected by my identity? Are my living conditions, where I live, how I spend, how I earn, how I work, it's being affected by my identity? How I work, how I live, how I decide, how the atmosphere is reacting to me. Are your living conditions affected by your identity? Write that down. Now, see, if you studied with me, you may have written the rhetorical words down, but you really haven't studied with me if you haven't practiced with me. See, a person could go to school and gain access to information, but until you practice the truth, you will flunk the course in your mind. You'll need grace from the principal to let you walk the stage to graduate, but you'll be a student graduating without honor, because I need the teacher to provide grace for me. I need the teacher to know that I had things going on in my life. I wanted to study, but I couldn't. Can you help me? I showed up. I showed up to class. I had perfect attendance, but you got to understand I had other things going on. You got to understand I had other priorities going on. Some I controlled, mostly I controlled, but still, what can you do for me? Grace is, what can you do for me, God? I didn't maximize my time. I didn't study Jesus. But I showed up on the court. What can I get as a role player? I know I didn't maximize I should have went in the weight room. I know I should have studied this. I did not. But still, I showed up. I bought the ice for the dinner. I did some things. What can I get for what I did? Well, you get an acknowledgement. Grace sometimes is the mere acknowledgement that you showed up. Grace is a gift from the giver. But when you live in honor and you begin to take that divine mentality, just like Christ, just like Kobe had that Mamba mentality. How many of you got the divine mentality? I'm studying the movements of God. I'm studying the brilliance of God to the point when the atmosphere looks at me, it feels it's looking at God. It knows it's not God, but he's like, man, you are so close. You are so close. You play the game like God. You play the game the way God would play it. Man, the way you comprehend, that's like God. And has that wisdom permeated to my business decisions? Has my faith permeated to my life? Because if faith is only at church, it ain't faith no more, baby. If faith is only with the Bible, it ain't faith no more. But did my spirit, did it go to my brilliance? Who I am being affected by, are my living conditions being affected by my identity? My living conditions know that I'm a Christ brand. Write that down. My living conditions have recognized that I'm a Christ brand. Not just I'm saved in the house praying. Because if you only came to God because of sin and your ex-husband and your ex-wife and your wife was beating you up and your husband and you needed refuge, you won't understand brilliance. You will never understand brilliance when all you're seeking for is protection. You will never understand creativity when all you're looking for is protection. You will never understand responsibility when all you look for from God was protection. Because your need for protection won't allow you to expand to creativity. Because this new responsibility may destroy the warranty of your protection. Because you're always worried if I'm protected. And I want God to guarantee what I'm afraid to commit to before I do anything. Am I making sense? Bridget, text me, baby, and let me know I'm making sense. Do y'all follow me? Yeah. What is my purpose? It's not a matter of God tell me what to do. No, purpose is when you do life as a God brand. Purpose is not tell me I need to know what I need to do. No, we need to know who you are doing life as, not what you need to do as you, but who are you doing life as? Am I making sense? Who am I? Let me see. I think my wife is texting me. Let me see what the texting. All right, baby, you baby. Who are you doing life as? Not God tell me what to do. But purpose is discovering who you are doing life as. Because if I'm studying my brother Jesus, I would do my life as a Jesus. How many of you are doing life as a Christ? Not Christian. Because if you're doing life as a Christian, you're still doing life as you. How many of you have elevated to doing life in a Christ brand? Because what happens is when you're with a Christ teacher, they will get the student to live a life of a purpose before they discover a purpose. And your inability in being consistent in that life bubble will show you why you have yet to discover your own. I've had students in the past, and you can hold them consistent to work in this. Okay, how did you see that? Did you see that? But when you saw that, what did you think? But when you saw that, what did you feel? I'm trying to show them what it's like to live a yielded life. So what you do is get the student and put them in the lifestyle. And their inability to maintain it shows the reason why they have yet to discover their own. Remember this Karate Kid movie, and I'm going to let you go. I thought it was a brilliant movie. It was one, I think Jaden Smith was in it. And him and his mother moved to China, Tokyo or something. I might paraphrase, okay? It's an old movie. And he got beat up, and he found his mentor who could teach him to fight. But this mentor hadn't trained anybody in a long time. And so he found the mentor to teach him how to fight. And so Jaden would go home and kind of be mad at his mother and drop his jacket on the floor. And so he wanted to learn a karate move to beat up some bullies. Well, the teacher didn't teach him how to fight. The teacher told him, every time you come home, pick up your jacket and put it on the rack. He started doing that, and then he started working for the mentor. The mentor had I believe it was a coat rack or something. I'm paraphrasing. He would say, when you come here, put the jacket on the rack and then mop up, do something. Well, what he was actually doing, instead of teaching the student how to fight, he was teaching the student how to observe. The student didn't know that the movement that he needed to learn was emulated in the movement of putting the jacket on the stand and mopping the floor. When you put it together, it created a move. But he wanted to build the student's muscle to the point that it became second nature. It became one with him. But he wanted to remove the focus from the student from, I'm teaching you how to fight, because I'm trying to embody you with the essence of the move. But I can't tell you that I'm teaching you the move. How many of you understand what I'm saying? When we want to learn a purpose or find a divine life, the spirit of wisdom will usually lead you to somebody who mastered the movement. The person who mastered the movement will get a group of students and have them to emulate every day the same observations, the same responsibility, the same spirit, the same laws that they use to come into their knowledge. When a person says, I can't get it, really the teacher is teaching you what to do before letting you know that you're doing it. But their inability in being consistent with it is to reveal to the student why they have yet to discover their own. Some of us have yet to discover our purpose because we're afraid to yield to something we can't control. That's why you hadn't found it. Some of us haven't discovered our purpose because we consider other people and people close to us beyond ourselves. That's why we haven't discovered it. Another person may have discovered a business or a talent, but you haven't discovered a purpose because you want to take breaks when you want to take breaks. You don't really understand what self-care is. You just want to do it to prove. That's why you haven't discovered it. Because the purpose is still lived whether people pay you or not. If people stop paying you and whatever you do ends, that wasn't a purpose. That was a job. If your purpose was a building and you lost it and everything ends, that wasn't a purpose. That was a venue. But when you begin to emulate the power of God and live life as the Christ brand, it'll never end, even after you pass away. Even if you go, the atmosphere will remember who you are and put your life in its book of memories, and people will stumble upon it. And they'll say, that guy there reminds me of Undrai Fizer. That guy there reminds me of Miles Monroe. That guy reminds me of Elijah. That guy reminds me of, because it'll capture the essence of your life and you'll live on. How many of you know what I'm saying? Have you discovered your purpose? Or did you waste time? Did you waste the lessons and seek for grace? Did you waste access? Are you studying Jesus the way Kobe Bryant studied Michael Jordan? Do you follow me? I'm Undrai Fizer. Hey, if you want to sponsor a sow into today's discovery, just follow the ticker and go to $Coach Fizer. You'll see the seed there, and make an investment into today's discovery. And if you want us to talk to you on a personal level, call me, write me, email me. You'll find all the information in the app, or inbox me, and we can set up an appointment for you. It's not for the faint of heart, okay? It's not just for wonderment. It's for serious coaching and mentorship. I'm Undrai Fizer. I enjoyed this moment with you today. Peace.